Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's RJC. Welcome back. It's been a while, I know. I've been trying to make some videos lately. So, I'm just gonna do a reaction video. Let's see if this will go well. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna be reacting to the disturbing calmness of Anemoiapolis. Ah, the disturbing calmness of Anemoiapolis. This will be interesting. Alright, let's watch. What's this?
This video is about a game I played recently that made me experience a feeling I'm sure you are all very familiar with. You wander alone through a familiar location, yet have never stepped foot here before. Your senses warn that you should feel greatly unnerved, but instead, you experience fluid tranquility. Memories of a time never known begin to flood your mind.
Whoa.
And you miss them. This right here is called Anemoia. Defined as nostalgia for a time you've never known, Anemoia was coined by John Koenig, author of the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. Many people have experienced this feeling, usually through decades they've never lived in, places they've never visited, and moments they've never experienced. The main difference between Anemoia and nostalgia is that Anemoia heavily revolves around a past that isn't yours, while nostalgia tends to be the opposite. However, I'm not going to sit here and explain what nostalgia is to you, because it's different for everyone. But what I am going to do is explain how Anemoia is portrayed in a very peculiar liminal space horror game. But first, do you know what the greatest horror of all is? Weak cybersecurity. But I have a solution
gosh,
for you,
this is sponsored.
It's called Atlas VPN.
Hold on. Let's skip this. There we go. Oh! Flip. Hit the mic.
Developed solely by American 3D artist Andrew Quist, Anemoiapolis is an indie atmospheric liminal space horror game that gives you a vibe like no other. It's currently in the beta stages of development, but still has plenty of content expressing the true sensation of Anemoia and the horrors that lurk within it. The game begins with you, the player, driving to a remote location to assess an anomaly that's causing the area to consume an abnormal amount of power.
Wow.
As you leave your car and wander through the barren field to examine an electrical box, you collapse through a panel on the ground and fall for what feels like an eternity. It's at this moment where our liminal adventure begins.
Wow.
You drop into a pool, a deep one that is. There's no one around. You call out.
Hello?
Again.
Hello?
Nothing. It's eerie. Definitely eerie.
Wow, yeah, I agree.
But as you exit the pool, gather your bearings, and explore the area, you discover a hidden chlorine-filled oasis that you get to experience all by yourself.
Whoa.
This is what sets the main tone of the game. Where there should be hundreds of people gathering and swimming, it's only you. It's lonely, but also peaceful. The entire complex feels wrong, but so right at the same time.
Wow.
Each new corner turned puts a little tingle in your head. But this feeling doesn't last forever. Once you get through the blissful and bright lazy river and enter a staff-only door, you discover an alternate version of the oasis you just swam in. The mood pulls a full 180. It's more wrong than ever before.
Whoa.
As you explore this new area, you learn you're not alone anymore.
I saw it!
Something
I saw it!
is watching you. You learn you're not alone anymore.
There it is. See? Yes, that's right. I see you, entity. Come here, cupcake. I know karate. Ha 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 ha. Okay, let's just get back to watching this. I'm being an idiot. Okay. That was the perfect time to crack my fingers.
As something is watching you. After swimming over endless pits of dark water and traversing over water slides, you find what appears to be your exit, but is actually a trial against your worst fear.
Darkness?
This locker room level is probably one of the scariest moments in gaming I've experienced in a while, and it's all because of the build-up this game has been doing to me. After having my emotions tugged at with fear and peace, back and forth, this area only exuded fear, and for a good reason. It's virtually endless.
Oh no.
You wander through the twists and turns of the locker room, following the exit signs above you, but find no escape.
No
You
escape.
keep repeating this until something catches your view. It's haunting, heading straight towards you. Honestly,
Is that a ghost?
I had a hard time completing this part. Between the slamming doors, humbuzz, and being chased by
A ghost?
this thing, I almost quit. But I made it to the exit and was free at last. Or so I thought. This is where the game, in its current form, ends. There's a playable closing area where you must navigate through some obstacles to the final door, but this just leads to a snippet of what's to come next. And after looking at Andrew's social media, it appears the next chapter is going to be a mall. So, stay tuned for that. However, this then leads me back to the feeling this game gave me. As the title suggests, it's a disturbing calmness. When you first fall into the facility, it's dark, eerie, and everything is mysterious. But the world suddenly transitions to something easy, peaceful, and calm. But goes dark again, and so on. This tugging and pulling on the emotions truly conveys an unnerving bliss, a feeling only experienced in few select games. So, if you wish to experience this feeling as well, I highly recommend discovering the world of Anemoiapolis yourself. All links will be found in the description below. But as always, thank you so much for watching.
Wow, that was really creepy. Did you just see that character, that black ghost thing? That actually scared me. Okay, let's just see. What else can I watch? If I have the time. Dead Bart. Let's watch Dead Bart next. It should be enough. Warning. The following video contains flashing imagery, strobe effects, and loud noise that may cause discomfort in some viewers. Oh boy. Let's see what happens. What happened?
Throughout internet history, an abundance of urban legends, myths, and otherworldly tales have plagued users into believing that the dark, mysterious, and supernatural actually exists. Many of these legends are known as creepypastas, and I'm sure you've heard of at least a few of them. From popular entries such as Slenderman, to the Russian sleep experiment,
Oh.
or to not so popular ones like Sonic.exe, these obviously fake horror stories have left some people questioning if they actually exist or not. Usually, only children and young teens tend to question the reality of said narratives, but sometimes they can get a little too real. Today, I want to discuss a creepypasta that has what I personally believe to be the most terrifying ending to any creepypasta story ever. For those of you who haven't read it yet, don't worry. You can either listen in as I read my own synopsis of the story, or you can pause this video right now and go read it yourself. Either way, just sit back, relax, and get ready for the disturbing story behind the one and only
Dead Bart. God, this is gonna be so violent. I might have to block some things.
Ah yes, The Simpsons, television's longest-running animated TV show. If you haven't heard of this sitcom before, then you obviously haven't lived properly. I'm sure you could show this photo to almost anyone, and they'd instantly recognize at least one or even all of these characters. If you've watched it before, you would know each member of the family is known for their unique traits. Homer is portrayed as the unintelligent and impulsive head of household. Marge is the reasonable, yet stressed out mother. Lisa is the intelligent and well-rounded middle child. And Bart, well, he is the mischievous and attention-seeking eldest problem child. It's these traits right here that form the dysfunctional yet relatable family known as the Simpsons. And also the basis of this creepypasta I'm about to dive into.
Whoa, this is
Dead
gonna
Bart,
get so
as
sinister.
it's titled, is a lost episode style creepypasta, somewhat similar to that of Squidward's S-Word. It contains tropes found in similar types of pastas, such as the ever so beloved hyper-realism cliché. However, I would argue that this one stands out from the rest, and it's all because of one thing: the ending.
Oh.
The tale begins like most creepypastas do. The narrator opens the story by recounting a series of strange events that led up to this moment. In this case, they begin by telling us that there is a lost Simpsons episode from season 1
Hold up, am I
written
still
solely.
recording? Sorry, I'm just checking. Yep, I'm still recording. Okay.
By Matt Groening himself, that contains something too disturbing to be witnessed by the general public. Too disturbing written solely in by telling us that there is a lost Simpsons episode from season 1 written solely by Matt Groening himself that contains something too disturbing to be witnessed by the general public. They go on to explain how they watched people ask questions to the creators of the show, only for them to completely ignore the question, or even walk off stage and end conventions early. And for some perplexing reason, no one on the Simpsons team was to ever mention this rumored episode. Ever. Luckily enough, the narrator managed to meet Matt Groening outside a fan expo one day. To Groening's surprise, he was confronted about the alleged episode. Almost on the verge of tears, Groening wrote a website down on a piece of paper, handed it over, and asked the narrator to never mention the episode again. After arriving home and booting up the computer, the narrator enters the website into his browser. The site loads, and they are confronted with an almost blank page, only showing one single download link. After downloading and copying the file to a CD, They are surprised to find it actually contains an episode of The Simpsons. This is after they get a horrible computer virus, but I'm not going to delve into that because I personally believe it adds nothing to the story. After opening the file, the video begins like any other Simpsons episode from Season 1, except for the fact the animation style differs slightly. Something more or less akin to early footage from the episode Some Enchanted Evening, demonstrating how it must have been one of Groening's first works. The theme of the episode is about the family preparing to take a plane trip, but all throughout the first act, the characters display heightened and exaggerated emotions, very odd from what they typically do. Homer is angrier than usual, Marge is depressed, Lisa is anxious, yet Bart, he's normal, nothing out of the ordinary. By the end of the first act, the family is on the plane and beginning to take off. But Bart, being his prankster and problematic self, begins to fool around and somehow manages to break a window on the plane. He is immediately sucked out and falls 50 feet to the tarmac below, where the act ultimately ends with a still image of his unrecognizable corpse, lying there, lifeless. The second act follows with the family, minus Bart, perched at the kitchen table, sobbing uncontrollably, looking completely wrecked and defeated.
Oh no.
This goes on for many minutes, all while the scene and their moans become more and more distorted as time ticks on. Act 3 slides in with a card reading 1 year later, then transitions back to the family, still seated at the table, skeletally thin, almost as if the life has been sucked out of them. They then decide to visit Bart's grave, but on the way there, they have to pass through a now deserted and abandoned Springfield. Everything appears to be stark and lifeless, displaying advanced decay as they venture closer to the cemetery. After arriving at Bart's grave, they are greeted with his corpse lying in front of it, lifeless, and depicted exactly the same as it was in the tarmac 1 year before.
Wow.
This scene is followed by a more distorted wailing, while the camera begins to slowly zoom out. As it does, countless tombstones come into view. Each grave lists the name and date of death for every guest star who has ever appeared on the show. For the ones who've passed already, their date of death is exactly the same as it was in real life. Even stranger, the narrator recounts how there's plenty of people who haven't even appeared on the show yet, hinting that they are most likely slated to guest star in the future. However, the creepypasta ultimately comes to an end, with the narrator proclaiming the following. A thought occurred to me after seeing the episode for the first time. You could try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet.
Wow.
All of their deaths are listed as the same date.
What? My God.
When I first read this creepypasta years ago, I didn't think much of the ending. In fact, it was the idea of Bart's lifeless and hyper-realistic corpse that terrified me the most. Which is funny, because this is probably the most cliché part of the story. But coming back to this creepypasta now as an adult, I find the ending to be the most disturbing and interesting part of the entire story. All because of those last 10 words. You see, I somewhat have an obsession with reading 2-sentence horror stories. If you don't know what these are, they are literally what you think. A horror story told in 2 sentences. A good example of this would be, there was a picture in my phone of me sleeping. I live alone. Or I can't move, breathe, speak, or hear, and it's so dark all the time. If I knew it would be this lonely, I would have been cremated instead.
Oh, no.
The reason why I love these stories so much is because of their ability to invoke so much fear in so little time. They are brief, yet come with an abrupt twist in the second sentence that you never see coming. And it's this type of theme that reminds me of the ending to Dead Bart. Those last two sentences, as shown here, mirror a perfect two-sentence horror story. The final act of the creepypasta leads up to the names of all the guest stars to ever appear, and their dates of death, which is definitely creepy enough on its own. But then the story kicks us in the nuts with the rest will all die in the exact same day. It's this heart-stopping moment that leaves us shocked and wanting more. Obviously, and I probably don't even have to say this, but the story isn't real. However, it does have you wondering, what is that mysterious date, and what causes everyone to die? Well, knowing this information would obviously ruin the mystery of the narrative, but it is a perfect example of a cliffhanger. In my Godzilla NES creepypasta video, I discussed the elements of the perfect creepypasta. There's a total of 7, according to Vengage, and one of these 7 included implementing a cliffhanger ending.
Wow.
In my opinion, the ending to Dead Bart is by far the best ending to any creepypasta I've ever read. Like I said earlier, reading the story as an adult hits harder than it did as a kid. There is a sense of doom when that last sentence hits your eyes. It reminds you that there will be a day when everyone is dead, regardless if it's in an end-of-the-world scenario or not.
Oof. That is crazy.
But at the end of the day, Dead Bart is just another internet horror story. Obviously, there's no secret Simpsons episode that has perfectly predicted the end of life as we know it. But it is enjoyable to look back at such things that scared us as children and revisit them as an adult. Would I say it's the best creepypasta ever? No, not at all. There's plenty of stories out there that top this one easily. But does it have the best ending to any creepypasta? Yes, absolutely. Dead Bart is easily the creepypasta with the most disturbing and shocking ending. In my opinion, that is. So if you haven't done so yet, I implore you to go out and read the story yourself. I'll link it in the description below.
Wow. Okay.
Before I end this video, I just want to give a few shoutouts to my Patreon and YouTube.
Anyway, that was just terrifying. Yeah, I can't talk. The ending actually was a bit creepy, there is. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Anyway, I don't exactly have enough time, but thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this reaction. Subscribe to Billy Styler. He's a great YouTuber. Quite underrated, I know. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video.